Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday, July 22nd. Hopefully, I can get it right today. Yesterday, I had technical difficulties with the video. But, anyway, so what are we talking about today? Well, I thought we'd talk about today how to turn your boneyard into money. Sounds pretty simple, right? But not always. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, July 22nd of 2025. So, what are we talking about when it comes to turning your boneyard into money? Here's the thing. I hear a lot of them talk about how much money they're making on eBay selling parts. I can tell you, being in the parts business and selling on eBay since 2008, 2007, especially the used parts, there's very few things that you can sell and make money on. But there are some out there. Like one of the big things, a big seller for us to strip down are the Kawasaki liquid cool engines that are on the John Deere. Those parts always sell well. The bigger Kohler engines always sell well. What do you keep and what do you scrap? That's the big answer, the big question. But the big answer is it all depends upon your area. If you're looking to sell on eBay, I can tell you right now, if you're looking at just pulling fuel tanks and cowls and all that stuff to sell online, you're going to go backwards. And most of the people that are selling online that are small, in the end, they're probably losing money. Because a lot of them don't take into consideration the shipping costs, the eBay fees, the listing fees, the store, because I have two stores. And you're not going to make a killing. But where can you make money off the boneyard? So it comes into play of how much real estate do you own? How much stuff can you keep around? And then what are your village, town, city ordinances as far as making it look like a junkyard? Because once you start piling up machines, I can guarantee you that the neighbors are going to start bitching. Especially if they got real fancy houses and you're bringing down their values by having a junkyard sitting next door to it or close to it. So you have to take that in consideration too. A lot of places have ordinances on the books that say you cannot have one. And if you do have one, you have to have a fence up. The other thing you have to look at is before you put it in the boneyard, is you need to drain all the fluids out of it. Sounds like common sense, right? But I see a lot of them, they don't. They just drag it up on the hill. It's still got engine oil in it. It's still got old fuel in it. It's still got... You need to drain it so that you're not contaminating the soil on the property, right? All of our used oil that we get through the shop, there's a car dealership that my son works for. It's a Ford dealership. And they have waste oil burners. So they come out and they drain our tanks. I let them do it for free. But it's not for free because they've done some things for me on my vehicles that should have been charged, but they didn't charge me. If you see what I mean. Like charge you parts but no labor to put something on. So it's been a very beneficial back and forth with us. So what do you keep and what don't you keep? Well, we keep, and this is great stuff to do during the winter months, is, or when it slows down. This goes kind of to your question mark of what do you do during the slow times? Well, what we do during the slow times is we already have a list. I'll start making a list in a notepad of stuff going up onto the hill and marking this one needs an engine, this one needs a transmission, of what the different needs are. And then when it starts slowing right down towards the end of the summer, we start pulling out and bringing them down to the shop and putting them inside, the ones that we want to do first that are quick. And now remember, most of the stuff that I'm doing in the late summer, early fall, into winter is stuff that I'm going to sell the following spring. So you're not going to see the money until the spring. But when we talk about financials, when it comes to running a business, you have to look at the year, not the week, the month. You have to look at the whole calendar because, if you look just at the spring rush, you think, wow, we're a gold mine. But then all of a sudden it's crickets quite a bit of the rest of the time. That's ideal time to be working on this stuff. I mentioned working on trimmers that people just see. I make it vocal to my customers, and it gets around. Is if you have something that you need to get rid of, a lawnmower, rider, this or that you no longer want, you're more than feel free to drop it off here, and we'll take care of it. Because usually every 2 to 3 years, I have a friend of mine come in that does scrap. And I get sick of looking at it, and we clean it right up. It all goes. And then we start again. Heaven forbid if we would never have scrapped out, every 3 years. We would be overgrown with crapola. The one thing you have to be careful of is if you're doing that, making Frankenstein machines. But if you're doing like an engine swap, that's fine. But the issue you're going to run into is if you're doing an engine swap and it's got a Kohler in it now and you're throwing a Briggs in it, you might have problems with your wiring. The unit won't plug in the same. They're different. But if you're throwing in another Kohler, even though it's coming from a Cub Cadet versus a Troy built, you're still going to be all right. And most of the motor mounts are set up in these units to go with whatever you need. Usually what ends up happening is it's the whip that will screw you. And if you don't know what you're doing, you could chase your tail. And I tell you that because we have in the past. We've tried to throw a Briggs onto a unit that had a Kohler on it. And there was a lot to trying to replace the wiring and get it figured out to make it so it worked well with that unit. And we've done it with like putting a Kohler where there was a Kawasaki. Again, they don't add up. And you got to make sure you know which one is the charging system, which one goes to the key switch, which one. There's a lot of things that go into that. But during our off season, I know ones I can make into resellable machines. Whether it's a push mower that came in that the engine was good but the deck was bad. I got one with a bad engine but the deck is good. We could do a swap, right? Just swap it out, put it, and usually when I sell a used push mower, I'll put a new blade on it if it needs it, starting to wear. But we can get $50 and up for a push mower. So if it takes you an hour to swap it out plus a lawnmower blade, $15, and you're making, that's $35, right? Still, $35 an hour during the off season is pretty good. Riders and stuff like that, I've had customers drop off perfectly good machines that needed valve adjustments or this or that, and they're just like, it's not worth it to me, Eric. I'm going to buy a brand new one. And we adjust the valves, get it running good, pressure wash it, and put it into the building for next spring. And if I have stuff that's sitting here for long periods of time that the customer hasn't come back for, I clean them up, get them running again, pedal them. And you can, as long as you have paperwork that says, and you have it listed on the wall, they have so many days to pick it up, so much a day storage, yada yada. But be careful of it, right? As far as pulling parts off from Briggs's, Kohler's, Kawasaki's, but Tecumseh's and all them, it's, you might sell an occasional fuel tank, maybe a rewind, but the Chinese have decimated that market, so that even they sell brand new ones for less than what you're trying to get out of yours, because the shipping cost alone, the minimum shipping cost that I have going out of the shop right now is $4.25. That's the cheapest with tracking. First class. Under 4 ounces. Yes, is a little over $4. eBay fees. You might as well figure right around 30-35% of whatever you're selling it for is going to go towards fees, listings, and everything else, and the store. Even more if you have a store and you're not selling that much. You still have the yearly store fees. And if you don't have a store and you're just listing stuff, now you're paying a higher listing fee, which it may be feasible if you're only running 20, 30 items at a time. Whereas with us, we were running 15, 20,000. So I would look into it. It's a great thing to do for those slower times where you keep your mechanics busy on doing stuff that the shop can still make money at. You may not see it until the spring, but you should be already selling the stuff from last year, right? We cleared our whole inventory. By the time we hit July 1st, everything had been sold. And that was a first for us. We had a John Deere zero turn. We had 3 push mowers, trimmer. Those are the slow times where you're looking for something to do to recoup money, and that's a great place to start. Now, what I've done to save time and money, and I mentioned this the other day too, is Jason has mentioned where you can get the storage containers like at Harbor Freight, Walmart, wherever. But I'll strip down a lot of the stuff, especially the metric bolts and nuts, and I put them in these cases. They're used bolts and nuts. But you'd be surprised at how often you need like this one bolt with a locking nut. Voila, I got it in my case. Because I took the time to start stripping some of these engines down for parts. But I was more interested in the hardware than I was the parts. Because if you go to Harbor Freight, if you go to Track Supply to get like a metric bolt with a locking nut, you could end up spending $7-8 for one. So by saving those, they come in pretty handy. In the comments, you guys that are running a shop, do you do this? I know you can't do it. Like right now, we're still too busy to try to do the other stuff. Right now, we're focused on the customers' machines. And so far, I haven't got anything lined up for the winter months. That tells me money's still tight out there. Don't be afraid to advertise. If you have real estate, don't be afraid to advertise that you're willing to take people's old machines. Because most of the time, it costs them money to get rid of it. Right now, with the price of scrap and everything, what I'm seeing mostly is they set it up by the curb and the scrappers are grabbing it. And, to make extra money. But when the prices go down, then it costs money for them to get rid of it. So keep that in mind. And then lastly, when it comes to the used machines that you have, what kind of a warranty do you put on them? Or do you have any warranty? And it all depends upon what I'm selling it for. All right, I won't sell junk. There's no sense in putting together a piece of crap and then trying to peddle it and then telling them it as is where is, and then they have a problem, and then they're all over Facebook, everywhere else, slamming you because you sold them a piece of crap. You can't sell crap. You can, but you're not going to be in it long. So just save the decent stuff. And if you're going to do warranty work on the stuff, then you need to bring the price up to reflect the risk that you're taking, that you may have to work on it. And you have to be really careful of what the person's going to use it for. We had one couple that wanted to buy a used mower from us, and they had moved up from New Jersey and they had bought a farm up here. So I asked them, I said, what are you going to use the mower for? And they said they wanted to get the yard and the side yard done and this and that. And it was a hay field. And I tried to explain to them that a riding lawnmower is not going to do what they want it to do. It's just going to be problems. And it was. They ended up buying it. They took it over and took a belt right off it because they burnt it with the blades trying to cut that tall grass. So then we replaced the belt. And then it was something else. You don't know where it's going 100% of the time, but it doesn't hurt to ask. What are you trying to do with it? If it's just a regular yard, that thing would have lasted a lifetime. But for somebody trying to do haying, it wasn't made for that. And even the new ones aren't made for that. And I've seen people from downstate move up here and go buy a brand spanking new riding lawnmower and then try to do the same thing. And then they wonder why the engines fail on them. Well, it's because you're using it as a haying machine instead of doing it in your yard. That same couple wanted to buy a tractor and brush hog off me, and I wouldn't sell it to them because, like Claude said, he was underneath there. He wanted to see how the blades spun around while they were spinning. Some people just weren't made to be on push mowers, riders, and tractors. So keep in mind that most people expect you to, if there's an issue with us, if it's a quick issue and it's something that we missed, fine. But if it's something they did to it, no, they're going to pay for it. So on that note, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning for another edition of The Weekday.